Good morning, everyone. Today I want to speak about two powerful experiences that define the depth of human existence: love and aloneness. These are not just emotional states, but dimensions of life that shape who we are, how we live, and how we connect to ourselves and others. Love, in its purest essence, cannot thrive within the boundaries of possession or dependency. When we treat love as something to own, we reduce its beauty to control and expectation. Possessiveness arises from fear of losing someone, fear of being left behind, fear of not being enough. But when love becomes a tool to fulfill these fears, it loses its true nature. It transforms into an emotional transaction where both individuals are trying to extract comfort, attention, and validation rather than offering genuine understanding and support. Such relationships often become cages where growth is stifled and authenticity is compromised. On the contrary, real love flourishes only in the presence of freedom. When two individuals come together not out of need, but out of mutual respect and shared joy, love becomes a celebration. There is no demand, no expectation to be someone else, no attempt to mold the other person into a certain image. Each individual in this bond remains true to themselves, and the relationship becomes a space where both can grow, evolve, and flourish without sacrificing their identities. This kind of love doesn't seek to imprison but to liberate. It gives wings instead of chains. Dependency, though often mistaken for love, creates emotional imbalance. When one person relies heavily on another for emotional security, purpose, or happiness, the relationship becomes burdensome. Love is not about using someone as a crutch to escape loneliness or pain. It is not about losing oneself in the presence of another. True love means both people are emotionally independent and whole, choosing to share their completeness. In such a connection, support is mutual. In such a connection, support is mutual. Empathy is sincere. In companionship is sincere. In support is mutual. Apathy is sincere. When love is grounded in awareness, it transcends superficial attraction or emotional neediness. Awareness brings mindfulness to how we relate with others. It helps us see love not as something we get, but something we give freely, without expectation. This conscious approach to love removes drama, manipulation, and insecurity from relationships. It creates space for honesty, vulnerability, and authentic connection. When two complete individuals consciously choose to walk together in love, their relationship becomes not only emotionally fulfilling but also spiritually enriching. True love is not something that emerges out of desperation or emotional hunger. It is born from a state of internal fulfillment, a sense of completeness that comes from knowing and accepting oneself fully. Many people enter relationships hoping that another person will fill the void within them, thinking love will mend their broken pieces. But love that arises from lack becomes demanding and fragile. It hinges on the other person's presence, actions, and constant reassurance. In such cases, what is perceived as love is often just an attempt to escape from one's own unresolved emotions or inner emptiness. When an individual is whole within themselves, love becomes an act of sharing, not seeking. They do not expect someone else to complete them because they are already complete. This creates a very different kind of relationship, one that is rooted in mutual respect rather than emotional dependency. A person who feels secure and at peace within is capable of loving with greater clarity, maturity, and compassion. They are not blinded by neediness or driven by fear. Their love is not clingy, but calm. It is not about possession, but about partnership. Fear of being alone is one of the most common reasons people cling to relationships that do not serve them. They stay in toxic environments, compromise their values, and silence their own needs just to avoid facing solitude. But when love is born from such fear, it becomes more of a survival mechanism than a genuine emotional connection. It is based on insecurity rather than trust, and it creates a cycle of dependency that is difficult to break. True love, however, arises when we are no longer afraid of being alone, when we are comfortable in our own skin and confident in our individuality. Only from a place of inner peace can we love others freely and truly. When we have faced our own loneliness, embraced our own flaws, and discovered our own strengths, we no longer seek someone to fix or rescue us. We become emotionally generous, open-hearted, and accepting, not because we need someone, but because we genuinely want to share our life with them. It becomes a beautiful experience that enhances our lives rather than defines them. Aloneness and loneliness are often mistaken for the same experience, yet they arise from completely different inner states. Loneliness is a feeling of lack, of something missing, often associated with sadness, emptiness, and yearning for connection. It is the pain of being disconnected not only from others, but also from oneself. People who feel lonely may be surrounded by others, yet still experience an internal void because their sense of identity and self-worth is often dependent on external validation. In contrast, aloneness is not about being away from others, but about being fully with oneself. It is the richness of solitude, where a person feels whole, present, and deeply aware of their own inner world. In the state of aloneness, a person is not trying to escape silence or distract themselves from their thoughts. Instead, they find beauty in stillness and strength in their own company. Aloneness is peaceful, not painful. It is an opportunity to observe the self, to listen to one's true desires and fears without judgment or interference. Unlike loneliness, which feels like being abandoned, aloneness is about returning to oneself. It offers a rare chance to detach from the noise of the world. Crouch crouch man, desito, desito. When individuals learn to embrace aloneness, they begin to experience life with greater clarity, without the constant pull of social noise or the urge to be validated by others. They can see things as they truly are. Decisions become more grounded. Emotions are understood, not suppressed. Creativity flows more freely. Aloneness grants access to an inner wellspring of wisdom that often remains hidden when we are always looking outward for answers. In this inner sanctuary, one builds resilience, emotional independence, and a deeper understanding of life. Moreover, cultivating a healthy relationship with aloneness transforms how one relates to others. Instead of approaching relationships with neediness or fear of abandonment, they approach them with authenticity and strength. When a person is at ease in their own presence, they do not chase after people or cling to them out of insecurity. They choose relationships consciously, not compulsively. Their interactions become more meaningful because they are rooted in self-respect and emotional stability. This profound shift is only possible when aloneness is seen not as a curse, but as a gift, a sacred space for self-realization. Solitude, often misunderstood as isolation, is in truth a sacred space for self-exploration. In the stillness of being alone, distractions fade, and the constant noise of external opinions and expectations begins to quiet down. It is within these moments that a person is able to observe themselves without judgment, without the need to perform or impress. In solitude, we are stripped of roles, masks, and societal labels. We are simply who we are. This creates a rare opportunity to explore one's inner world, to revisit thoughts and emotions we may have neglected. To becerted thoughts and emotions, we may have the best beliefs or sabotage our growth. In this silent space, the process of healing begins. Emotional wounds that were buried under the noise of busy routines or concealed by relationships suddenly surface, asking for attention. Solitude provides the room to acknowledge pain, to grieve losses, and to sit with discomfort until it transforms into understanding. It is not an easy process, but it is a necessary one. Without solitude, healing is often shallow and temporary. We may apply emotional bandages, but never truly treat the underlying hurt. Time alone allows those wounds to breathe, to be understood, and eventually to close in a healthy and transformative way. Self-discovery is another profound gift of solitude. But guides us toward our real passions and illuminates the direction of our lives, the benefits They used compassion, but guides soft-sorrowed irreal passions and illuminates the direction of our lives. In solitude, many discover talents they never noticed, strengths they never valued, and dreams they had long forgotten. It is a journey inward that leads not to isolation, but to self-attentiveness and authenticity. As one begins to understand and accept themselves through solitude, a deeper sense of worth naturally emerges. This worth is not dependent on achievement, status, or other people's approval. It is rooted in self-cognition. You realize that you are enough as you are. The fear of being alone starts to dissolve, replaced by a quiet confidence and contentment. This newfound strength allows you to walk through life with greater independence and emotional clarity. You stop seeking others to validate your existence, because you now carry within you a deep sense of your own value, something only solitude could have shown you. When a person has learned to be at ease in their own company, their entire approach to relationships transforms. They are no longer looking for someone to complete them or save them from loneliness. Instead, they enter connections from a space of emotional sufficiency and inner calm. They are able to give love freely, not in exchange for attention or validation, but simply as an expression of who they are. This kind of love is rooted in strength, not desperation. It allows relationships to flourish naturally, without the pressure of constant reassurance or fear of abandonment. A person who is uncomfortable being alone often carries unconscious emotional expectations into relationships. They may cling, demand, or manipulate, seeking their worth in the eyes of their partner. Such dynamics can be suffocating and unstable, leading to dependency rather than genuine intimacy. On the other hand, someone who values solitude does not look to others to feel whole. As a result, they are able to maintain healthy boundaries, respect their partner's individuality, and encourage freedom within the bond rather than control. Moreover, being comfortable with aloneness enhances emotional maturity. A person who has spent time in solitude has faced their fears, confronted their insecurities, and developed a relationship with themselves. They are more in touch with their needs, more aware of their flaws, and more accepting of who they are. This self-worthiness allows them to relate to others with empathy and understanding. They don't project unresolved pain onto their partner, nor do they expect someone else to fix them. They know how to process their emotions and communicate openly, making them emotionally responsible and grounded. Such individuals bring balance and stability into their relationships. Because they are not ruled by fear or emotional hunger, they do not demand constant presence or emotional labor from their partner. Instead, they bring peace, clarity, and depth. They give love not to gain something in return, but because they are already full within. Their presence becomes comforting rather than draining. Love, in this context, becomes an enriching experience, one that thrives on freedom, growth, and mutual respect, rather than dependence or fear of solitude. Striking a balance between love and aloneness is essential to forming relationships that are grounded, respectful, and fulfilling. Often people imagine love as the merging of two individuals into one, where personal boundaries blur and independence dissolves. However, such fusion leads to confusion, emotional entanglement, and often unhealthy dependency. When love is balanced with a healthy sense of aloneness, it no longer demands complete surrender of individuality. Instead, It's suppose the union of two whole beings who willingly choose to walk together while maintaining their unique paths. This balance gives rise to a relationship rooted in mutual admiration, not ownership. In mature relationships, partners understand the value of solitude, not only for themselves, but also for each other. They recognize that time spent alone is not a threat to their connection, but a necessary part of self-renewal and growth. This understanding eliminates the need for constant presence or emotional reassurance. It dissolves possessiveness because each person knows that love doesn't mean imprisonment. They trust not because they are forced to, but because they have nurtured enough inner strength to let go of control. This creates emotional spaciousness, where each partner can breathe, reflect, and reconnect with themselves without damaging the bond they share. The maturity that arises from balancing love and aloneness creates deeper emotional intimacy. When both individuals are rooted in themselves, they bring authenticity into the relationship. There is no need for pretense or overcompensation. Conversations become more genuine. Vulnerability becomes easier, and emotional expression flows freely. They are able to support each other's growth, not hinder it. Such relationships are characterized by deep listening, honest communication, and a shared journey of inner and outer development. They become not just romantic connections, but partnerships of mutual evolution. Furthermore, this balance prevents the erosion of one's identity within a relationship. Often in love, people lose themselves, neglecting their dreams, values, or even friendships for the sake of keeping the relationship intact. But when aloneness is respected, one remains grounded in who they are. They don't give up their essence to please someone else. Instead, they integrate love into their life without abandoning the self. This equilibrium nurtures love that is expansive, not restrictive. Love that encourages both togetherness and freedom, allowing each individual to thrive independently and as a couple. When we fully embrace aloneness, we begin to live more authentically because we are no longer hiding from ourselves. In solitude, there is no one to impress, no roles to perform, no expectations to meet. We begin to see our true selves, not the version the world expects, but the one that quietly exists beneath the surface. This acceptance of aloneness invites us to connect with our inner truth. We become more honest about what we believe, what we want, and who we are. There is no more need to pretend or conform. Instead, we start shaping our lives around our own values, not around the fear of rejection or the pressure to belong. Living authentically means making choices that are aligned with our genuine desires, not driven by social conditioning or emotional insecurity. When we live from this space, our lives become more intentional and fulfilling. We no longer waste time pursuing things that don't resonate with us. We are less likely to settle for relationships, careers, or environments that drain our energy. Instead, we start seeking experiences that nurture our soul. And this shift doesn't come from defiance or rebellion. It comes from deep self-awareness developed through aloneness. It is through that internal silence that we hear the whispers of our intuition, guiding us toward a more meaningful path. This inner authenticity naturally flows into our relationships. When we approach love from a place of inner completeness, we bring our true self into the connection, not a mask or a fragmented version shaped by fear. We do not enter into love hoping to be fixed or saved. We do not pretend to be someone we are not in order to be liked or accepted. Instead, we show up with honesty, vulnerability, and confidence. This kind of presence is powerful. It allows for deep, genuine connections that are not based on illusion or emotional dependency. This is explained by the professor Limbs de Schildide. Before the big now is Ina, a cheery. The authentic relationships are a reflection of the individuals within them. When both partners have embraced their own aloneness, they are capable of holding space for each other's truths. They are not threatened by each other's independence or inner worlds. There is room for differences, for silence, for space to grow, without fear that the relationship will fall apart. Such relationships are built on emotional maturity, where love is expressed not to fill a void, but to celebrate the richness of two complete lives coming together. In this way, embracing aloneness becomes the foundation for the deepest, most authentic expressions of love. In conclusion, love and aloneness are not opposing forces, but two essential dimensions of a fulfilled and meaningful life. When we embrace aloneness, we discover who we truly are, beyond roles, noise, and expectations. And when we carry that inner clarity into our relationships, love becomes more genuine, more compassionate, and more liberating. It is only when we are whole within ourselves that we can truly share ourselves with others, without fear or neediness. By honoring both love and aloneness, we find balance. A life where connection and individuality can coexist, and where the heart is free to love deeply without losing itself.